head on north to our next destination. We're along the shores of Lake Geneva here, beautiful rolling vineyards going down to the waters of Lac Léman, as they call it, heading north to Paris, continuing our tour of Europe by train. We're riding the TGV. It's the high-speed French train. It reaches a maximum velocity of about 190 miles an hour. They even have engines in the middle of this train to help push it along. Our group has boarded this train well prepared, packed with picnic lunches with food and drink for everybody. Of course, it's perfectly okay to bring your own food and beverages on board the train. They certainly don't mind. They do have a snack car on board, but in this case, it was much better to bring our own food. It was a lot more delicious. Some of the trains have lovely dining cars, as you saw in Switzerland, but it just so happens we know that the TGV dining is not all that great. So we stocked up back in Lucerne. They have a terrific supermarket takeout. You can get sandwiches and salads of all kinds. Sit back and relax and enjoy this smooth, comfortable ride. It's a high-speed train that goes faster than the trucks and the cars on the highway. We're just blowing them off the road. And the reason it goes so fast is they have high-technology engines as well as beautifully laid flat tracks. So it gets you there in a hurry, and before we know it, we have arrived at the Eiffel Tower. We must be in Paris, the most famous landmark in the world, probably the most photographed object in the world. And you can go right up to the top, ride the elevator up there, and you have a fantastic view stretching out before you of the entire city of Paris. The dome of the Invalides Church is one of many attractions you can identify from the top of this tower. The Chaillot Palace and the Trocadero down below. The Place de la Concorde. The banks of the River Seine flowing right through the heart of the city. The elevators were the key to making the tower accessible. All designed by Monsieur Eiffel. The Arc de Triomphe standing proudly in the center of L'Étoile. You get a great view of the River Seine, but an even better view of the river can be had from the Bateau Mouche, and that's where we are now. You can ride this lovely boat all day long. You can ride it at night, but the best time is to ride it at twilight. It's not an expensive experience. It might only cost you about $8 for the 1-hour ride, and it's well worth it. You get the boat eye view of the Conciergerie, the ancient medieval palace that's on the center of the Ile de la Cité. You see Paris from the riverside. A stunning view of the Eiffel Tower, all lit up at night like a golden sculpture. And the view from underneath is as spectacular as the view from the top of this tower. From any angle, it's a wonder to behold. Our Hawaii group standing for a rare group portrait in front of this landmark of the city. There's about 24 of us traveling from Hawaii all together for 18 days from Rome to London. And part of our experience in each city is a local guide who takes us around and shows us the city from his perspective. We get on the bus in Paris. In some cities it's walking tours, and in Paris we also have additional walking tours. But to really see this city, it's a huge spread out urban metropolis. You need to ride the bus, so our guide takes us around and tells us about the attractions.
The traffic is good on this square, but when it's the rush hour, this square is considered like the most dangerous in Paris. If you have an accident, for the insurance it's 50-50.
We'll show you more of this bus tour in a later episode in the season on World Traveler. For now, we're just showing you some highlights. There's Sacré-Cœur and the Church of the Invalides, the Pantheon. This is a summary of our Rome to London tour. So we're just passing through town. We'll be here for a few minutes visiting the Place de Vosges. And here we were stopped in our tracks by a stunning display of Parisian chic, a fashion shoot. Paris is still the world capital of fashion and style. Other great centers are rivals such as Milan and New York, but you just can't compare to Paris when it comes to fashions, when it comes to food, when it comes to impressionist art, when it comes to public displays of all kinds. This is a collection of statues by, have you guessed the artist yet? We'll give you a hint. The clue is coming up. Here's the giveaway hint. It's Salvador Dali. It's an outdoor display of his sculptures in the Place Vendôme, one of the most elegant spots in the city, home to the Ritz Hotel and the Vendôme Column. Paris is truly a city of the arts. Here's Dali's interpretation of the famous Venus de Milo, which is located in the Louvre Museum, and here's the original for you. It's a Greek statue from about 3,000 years ago. And of course you'll want to see the world's most famous painting, the Mona Lisa, and it's got quite a history.
And that became the first painting in the Louvre Museum. It became the beginning of the king's extensive collections and the most important piece. And it's been the most important piece ever since. And so all the mobs come in here and they see the Mona Lisa, and like Kim says, okay, he can leave now. He's seen the Mona Lisa. Let's go to London. But there's more to see, though.
Including the third object in the Louvre's Holy Trinity, the Winged Victory of Samothrace.
This entire gallery, this entire room is filled with Rembrandt paintings. They're all Rembrandt, yeah. And he painted a series of self-portraits. You'll see around the room different ages of Rembrandt. He did self-portraits as a young man and then other self-portraits as an older man. I want you all to try and get in close and have a look at this painting by Van Eyck, because it is just one of the most exquisite paintings ever created. He was the inventor of oil painting. He's a Flemish artist, and with the invention of oil painting, he was able to paint with the finest detail imaginable.
The Louvre has many kinds of objects on display. It's not just paintings and statues. There's the crown jewels, there's swords, there's furniture, there's decorative arts. There's more things than you'll ever see in your lifetime, even if you visited this museum every time you went to Paris. Especially now that it's been expanded in size, it's nearly twice as large as it was a few years ago. And it's a great attraction. It's the most popular visitor attraction in all of Paris for good reason. Along on our walking tour, we like to take you on a visit to the back of Notre Dame. You get a stunning view as we walk over to the left bank of the city. The shady, leafy plazas here offer a more peaceful contrast to the rest of the city. And it's easily accessible by metro, as are all the neighborhoods of Paris. There's 18 subway lines that crisscross and run throughout the city, so you can very quickly get anywhere. You might have to change trains once, or you might want to take the suburban commuter line called the RER out to the Palace of Versailles, which is where we're going now. You can get to Versailles on a package day trip by tour bus, and that's a nice way to do it. You'll have a guide taking you out there. Or you can go on your own. It only costs about $7 round trip by train. It's about a half an hour away from the center of Paris, and you walk about a half a mile from the station into the arms of the most beautiful palace in the world. Especially on a Sunday, where that's the only day that the fountains are going in the gardens.
Versailles was originally built for Louis XIII as a little hunting house. And it was a small place, and Louis XIV, who was living in Paris at the time, in the Louvre, liked the countryside. He liked coming out away from Paris, and so he decided when he became king to expand greatly the palace, and thus Versailles was constructed. 22,000 people worked on its construction, and there were 6,000 horses working at the same time. And during a period of about 20 to 30 years, the entire masterpiece was created. And it became the standard for palaces in Europe. This is one of the most incredible rooms ever created in the history of the planet. You see the mirrors on one side, and there's matching glass windows on the other side, and crystal chandeliers in the middle, reflecting all of the brilliance. This is one of the most incredible sights you'll see when you come to Paris. So be sure to carve out about half a day and make the trip out to Versailles so that you can enjoy not just the Hall of Mirrors, but the rest of the palace and the beautiful gardens that are part of the total experience of Versailles.
Versailles made a fitting grand climax to our tour of Paris, and now we're leaving town in a spectacular way. We're going to go under the English Channel by train. It's called the Eurostar.